to take on in a big way in the coming years. You see, people forget that economics and ecology come from the same root word, ecos, the Greek word meaning household or domain. Ecology is the study of home. Economics is the management of home. What ecologists try to do is to determine what are the conditions and principles that allow a species to survive and flourish. Now, you would have thought those are pretty important things to know. That any group in human society would say, gee, before we do that development, what was it, those ecologists, what are those principles and conditions that we want to flourish forever? But no, what we do, and you hear it from Mr. Harper as Prime Minister, when he says, we can't afford to do anything about Kyoto because it'll destroy the economy. And what that statement is saying the economy comes before ecology. The economy, and Lord Taylor said this to me directly, the former Minister of the Environment in Alberta, said to me, listen Suzuki, you tree huggers ought to know that we can't afford to protect the environment if we don't have a strong growing economy. And my jaw dropped and I looked at him and I said, I thought you were the Minister of the Environment. I thought, not the Minister of Finance. I thought your job is to protect the environment. And yet even the Minister of the Environment in Alberta thinks that the economy comes before the environment. And that's the problem that we face. And I think that there are two challenges that to get this economic system balanced. First of all of the things that nature does for us for nothing. Pollination, for example. Or a forest that takes carbon dioxide out of the air, puts oxygen back in it, or that holds the soil to prevent erosion, or that lifts water into the atmosphere and affects weather and climate, that provide habitat for other species. All of those services that nature performs, economists call them externalities. And what that means is they got nothing to do with the economy. We don't put a price on them, they're irrelevant. So the fundamental problem with economics is when we go in and try to argue why you can't cut down the Brazilian rainforest, our hands are tied behind our backs. We've got to start saying, oh, well, there are Brazil nuts and they have a certain value. There are rubber trees, they have a certain value. But the really important things that those forests do that keep the air breathable for an animal like us, that affect weather, climate, and all, those have no economic value, so we can't include them in the equation. So there's challenge number one, is to get an economic system that makes sense in terms of the real things that keep us alive. But the second thing that we have to face is that our economic system is predicated on the notion, which is totally impossible, that it can grow forever. We live within the biosphere, the zone of air, water, and land where all life exists. And it's a very thin layer. Carl Sagan used to say if you shrank the Earth to the size of a basketball, the biosphere would be thinner than a layer of varnish that you paint on the ball. And that's it. That's where all living things exist, and it can't grow. It's fixed. So how can you have any system, subsystem within that biosphere think it can grow forever? You know, our bodies are made up of about 100 trillion cells. That's a lot of cells. One cell in that 100 trillion is so insignificant, I mean, you'd never find it in a body. But if that one cell decides, I'm going to divide forever, long before it becomes a mass of any great size, it'll kill you. Because you can't grow forever when in a finite system. But economists actually think that's possible. And this is what Bill Rees is feeling very, very desperate about. That our whole system, even when you have an enlightened guy like Barack Obama in as president, and thank goodness it's like night and day in the United States now, even Barack Obama wants to get the economy back up and running and growing. And nobody asks the really important question, how much is enough? I mean, why do we really need all this stuff? Am I happier with all this stuff? Herb Hammond said the other day, and I think it was really right, that the problem with our economic system is it's no longer set up to serve our needs. My mom and dad used to tell me, look, you need money for the necessities of life, but you don't run after money and as if somehow having more and more of it makes you a bigger man. You just need the necessities. But we've moved far beyond the necessities of life to serve an economy that serves our wants. And when you serve our wants, there's no end to it. I want a bigger car, I want a faster car, I want a bigger house, I want more. Like, if that's what the economy is into, and 70% of the American economy is about serving our wants, then we've got an economy that is running amok. And I think those are the two big issues we have to confront. How do we build an economic system that takes account of what nature does for us now? Internalize that. And how do we build an economic system that is a steady state economic system that doesn't aspire to endless growth? And that's a big challenge, but we're going to take it on, right?